Hi there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Dr Nachi Sinha. Of course, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about something called cognitive dissonance. Now, I'm going to walk you through the term cognitive dissonance, its everyday examples and effects, and how to reduce it, or, how to reduce its impact. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, before we move any further, we need to understand what it is, of course, and so the question is, what is cognitive dissonance? So the term cognitive dissonance is, might have sort of made you feel that it's quite complicated and only a few people would have experienced it. However, cognitive dissonance is very common. I mean, it's a part of who we are. And I'm sure you must have experienced it several times in your life without even knowing what it's called. Cognitive dissonance refers to discomfort and anxiety that you feel when your feelings do not align with your actions, or when you have contrasting thoughts that don't align with your beliefs and ethics. Now, let's look at a few examples, and hopefully that will make it clearer. Some common everyday examples for it would be, let's say, cheat meal. Now, John is trying to cut his calorie intake, let's say. He goes on a strict diet and avoids eating carbs and processed foods. But then John goes to a party and sees plenty of food, junk food, and he wants to eat a slice of pizza. But at the same time, he thinks about the calories it contains. Now, this is a situation where he feels that, he has a bit of a conflict now, and this is where he'll face cognitive dissonance. So he will have a battle between these two thought streams. And thought one is going to be, he wants to eat the pizza as a cheat meal. Cheat meal concept, right? Thought number two stream, the second stream of thought would be that he's aware of the calories in his diet. During a situation like this, John is going to feel confused about what decision to make. His mind will constantly be trying to justify his actions. And now to resolve this issue, John has to make a decision, right? He can either eat the pizza and justify his action by saying it was cheat meal, or he can step back and not eat it. Moving on to the second example, plastic, using plastic. Now, we're all aware of the contribution of plastic to global warming and pollution. Yet we still use plastic straws, bags, containers, and, almost daily. A person who's aware of the consequences of using plastic and, feels ethically and obligated, and rightly so, they will experience significant cognitive dissonance while using plastic because their actions don't align with the beliefs. Thus, the person will feel discomfort or even guilt for using plastic and harming the environment. The next example would be, let's say, relocating to a new place. Now, let's say a partner gets a job in a new city. Most of the time the spouse moves with them to a new place. Now, the dilemma of leaving the city that they love and moving to a new place with their spouse does create a dissonance in the partner's mind. The spouse now feels compelled that they have to move to a new city, even though they don't want to, because they have their own life set in this new business, in this previous place. Now, people can also experience cognitive dissonance in the workplace and in different relationships. There are plenty of situations where the person feels entangled between their values and actions. For example, let's look at some cognitive dissonance situations in a workplace. There are plenty of scenarios, right, in a workplace where the person is asked by the boss to do something which doesn't align with the belief. However, the person also wants to please their boss and to get recognition. So this difference then creates the dissonance for them. Example, a manager offers the employee a drink during working hours. The employee doesn't drink during working hours, but fears that it won't accept the drink. The manager won't like them and won't, be open and frank with them. So what do they do? The cognitive dissonance in relationships. There are plenty of times when a person finds themselves in a situation where they love their partner, however, they hate certain wrongdoings of their partner. For instance, let's say a husband loves his wife, but he hates it when his wife yells at him. The husband experiences cognitive dissonance. He loves his wife and knows that she loves him back, but he absolutely loathes the idea of yelling. This polar, opposite polar findings sort of make him uncomfortable. And the main reason for experiencing cognitive dissonance is doing or witnessing something that doesn't align with your beliefs and value system. The person experiencing cognitive dissonance also goes through, emotions of their own. For example, let's talk about them now, the effects of cognitive dissonance, anxiety. Now, the battle between your thoughts and action can really increase anxiety. A person's mind sort of, gets entangled with these two conflicting thoughts. Like, should he eat the cheat meal, or should they continue the diet plan to maintain their health? Or when the person knows the harmful effects of smoking and yet smokes. The difference in thoughts and actions create mental turmoil for a person, causes conflict, and thereby causes anxiety. Number 2, stress. Cognitive dissonance results in discomfort and stress. Now, when a person is forced to act or behave in an opposite way, to what their belief and values suggest, and they feel upset, stressed, and even confused. For example, the colleagues might force a person to smoke. The person understands the harmful effects of smoking, however, they know that if they don't smoke, the colleague will ridicule him or might even isolate him. Of course, this dissonance has now become easier to deal with because of the general perception and the narrative around smoking that's become more common. But those of us who were around in the 90s and, in the early 2000s, this would make perfect sense to them when the barriers to smoking weren't that high. Point number 3, embarrassment and guilt. Another effect of cognitive dissonance is embarrassment. Now, doing something you don't like makes you feel embarrassed about yourself. For instance, using a plastic straw and discarding it might you feel embarrassed and guilty about harming the environment. Now, apart from embarrassment and guilt, a person also feels regretful, So let's talk about the feeling of regret, which is number 4. Now, doing something that doesn't align with your values makes you regret your decision. For example, you're against cheating during an exam. However, you witness your best friend cheating in the exam. Now, you choose to stay silent and not inform the examiner because, your best friend will get in trouble. But then later on, you start to regret not speaking up against cheating. So how do we deal with cognitive dissonance? Now, you can stop the conflict in a few effective ways. The first one is to practice mindfulness. Now, being mindful of your thoughts can help you stop the cognitive dissonance. If you feel contradictory thoughts, conflict of thoughts, take a deep breath and rationalize your thoughts. Think clearly and act. Acting without thinking makes you feel guilty and regretful. Number 2, have a strong justification. Now, one of the best ways to relieve cognitive dissonance related turmoil is to have a solid justification for your actions. For example, a tea addict learns that drinking excessive caffeine can cause insomnia. And, and that leads to conflict because they are struggling with sleep. So they justify this addiction by deciding not to drink tea after dinner so they can sleep better. And hence resolve that conflict. Number 3, change your actions. If certain actions make you feel embarrassed and guilty, change them. In this way, your actions will align with what you truly like. So, for example, a person feels guilty about smoking and harming their health. Well, they can quit smoking and free themselves of cognitive dissonance. Now, I understand it's easy for me to sit here and say they can quit smoking, but that's precisely the point. I mean, that's why it's difficult, because of so much effort that's involved in resolving conflicts in our thoughts and our mind. Cognitive dissonance is common in our daily lives, and we experience it when we do or are forced to do something that doesn't resonate with our beliefs. Understanding your thoughts, rationalizing your behavior, and justifying your actions can end cognitive dissonance and its effects. I hope this video made sense to you and allowed you to see how simple acts and thoughts can lead to conflict on daily life, and the phenomenon, of course, is that of cognitive dissonance. And once you understand it, you'll find that it's so much easier to make sense of how to deal with the dilemmas that we face. So I will see you again in a future video. In the meantime, look after yourself, and don't forget that if you feel that things are not right, then ask for help. Help makes a difference. Take care, look after yourself, and thank you for watching it. Goodbye.